A Washington, D.C. appeals court denies former President Donald Trump presidential immunity from prosecution on criminal charges in a case related to the 2020 election. Our very own Rick Newman is here with the latest. Rick, what do we know about this so far?
Well, this is one of the 4 criminal trials Trump is dealing with, and every one of these trials has wickets that the prosecutors have to get through. So the prosecutors have gotten through one more wicket with this one. Appeals court says, yes, he has to go to trial. It will then go to or at least Trump will at least ask the Supreme Court to rule on this. The Supreme Court can say, yes, we'll rule, or they can just say, no, we're letting the appeals court ruling stand, and then we'll see what the next step is. I think the big question with this trial, this is the one, election interference, the Washington, D.C. based trial, federal, prosecuted by Jack Smith, the independent counsel. I think the big question is this trial going to take place during the election year, before the November election, or will it get pushed off all the way into 2025? I don't think we know yet.
What's the thinking of surrounding that? I mean, I know you're saying we don't know yet, but the best guess at this point is it something that will likely wait until after the election?
We've never been here before. I mean, with a leading presidential candidate facing 4 trials. So I think the safest thing you can probably say is that of these 4 trials, the first one that got kicked off, which is the one in New York City, which a lot of people have just forgotten about. That's the money spent on Stormy Daniels and the hush money payments. That one looks most likely to go to trial within the next few months. It's these other ones, the federal ones, and the one in Georgia, the state or the county one there, that are just taking longer. So I mean, it's just going to be underway the whole time. So watch for the New York City trial and see if that happens.
Also, Rick, while we've got you, the U.S. national debt now hovering around $34.2 trillion as of February 2nd. Who's to blame for the rising debt?
So this is a big issue for a lot of voters, and there's some great analysis from the Committee for Responsible Federal Budget, and they helped us with this story. Everybody's to blame. Both parties, CRFB finds that they did an analysis of all the debt that's been added on since 2001. And just to remind people, we had a federal surplus in 2001, and the Congressional Budget Office back then said they thought the whole federal debt would be paid off by 2009. And so since that time, we've had a combination of tax cuts, spending hikes, the 2 wars, improvements to services such as Medicare, and that's where this gigantic national debt has come from. So in the analysis that CRFB helped us with, 77% of all those actions, whether it was legislation or something else, were basically bipartisan. Only a small portion was either Republicans only or Democrats only. And as much as voters hate the fact that this debt is now getting out of control, guess what? Voters benefited from a lot of this. And there generally is support for cutting taxes. I mean, everybody would rather pay less in taxes than more. And, Americans have gotten a lot of tax cuts and hardly any tax hikes during the last 25 years. And they also benefit from changes to government programs such as the Medicare Part D, which included prescription drug coverage for the first time.
Yeah, Rick, moving it forward, not to put you on the spot here, but just in terms of the policies, what we will likely see if Trump is elected versus if Biden is elected, is there a thought process on which would be worse or pretty much the same given the track record?
For the debt?
Yeah.
All those selections are, I mean, everything is as bad as it could possibly be because nobody wants to deal with this. So Biden has a plan. Yeah. He wants to raise taxes on the wealthy and on businesses, but he couldn't get that done when his fellow Democrats controlled both houses of Congress for the first 2 years. Trump doesn't really talk about doing anything about the debt. He famously called himself the king of debt, and we know from the way he runs his businesses that the more debt, the better. Let somebody else deal with it. And Trump has had bankruptcies, so he has basically defaulted on debt. You can't do that at the federal level. The way this is going to play out is nobody is going to do anything about this, neither party, until there's no other choice. And for people who find despair in this situation, there is a way out. Like one simple fix would be a value-added tax, which basically every other advanced country in the world has. Every country in Europe has a VAT, and that's like a federal sales tax. And that would solve the problem. That would raise enough revenue to solve the problem. You could do other spending increases and spending cuts and benefit reduction slightly, reforms to Social Security. There are a lot of ways to deal with this program. There's just no will to deal with it.
Yeah, certainly, and it hasn't been
familiar
that way
story. Nobody wants to do anything about it.
All right, Rick, thanks so much for breaking that down for us.